Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. This is the Mental Breakdown. I'm your host, Joey Velez. Happy Sunday. Hope everybody had a good weekend so far. Yesterday, I had the chance to watch a local fireworks show, which was kind of cool since 4th of July is coming up, and it's the time for that now being in Texas. Fireworks are a lot more legal than they are in California, so it's a little different of a holiday out here, but I think one thing I appreciate about it is that it makes me feel like a kid again, which is probably the same reason why I've gotten back into opening trading cards, is because there's that nostalgic feeling. Whenever I open a pack and I see a card of my favorite player, a nice looking card, like I get really excited. I feel the same way about fireworks. There's something about like these extravagant lights, being shot up into the dark sky, and just the design that they have, and just the noise that they make. It makes me, I don't know, it just makes me feel good. It makes me feel like a kid again watching fireworks all the time in my driveway or at the local high school. And I think that's something that kind of ties into what I'm grateful for, is the people who put on these shows. They make it look very easy, and I can't imagine it is. They also make it look very safe, and I can't imagine it is. So I'm really thankful for the people that take the time out of their day to put on these shows for everybody else to enjoy. Um, but one thing I wanted to talk about today, and I think this is something that, I've experienced myself playing sports growing up, and I think this is something just you hear in the media when athletes get interviewed, is there are a lot of phrases that they say that really sound good, but in reality don't make sense, and I'm going to talk about a couple of them. The first one, something I've mentioned on this show before, is the phrase of failure is not an option. You hear athletes all the time say this in interviews. And while it sounds good, it doesn't really make sense. If you're heading into a performance, you're going to win or you're going to lose. If you're going to take a test, you're going to pass or you're going to fail. So theoretically, failure is an option. Now, I think the where the difference lies is where these individuals are placing their attention when they actually say failure is not an option. What I mean by that is they're not focusing on what happens if I fail. They're not focusing on the things that can go wrong. They're focusing on what do I need to do to be successful. So while they say failure is not an option, and I understand it, however, if you don't want to fail, what you need to do is focus on what you can control and what you want to do in order to be successful. But to say that failure is not an option just doesn't make sense. Okay. Now, the next phrase kind of ties into this one, which is you either win or you learn. Again, same thing. When you head into a performance, the outcomes are either you win or you lose, right? So I think there is a misconception that there is no such thing as losing. Well, no, there is. There is such thing as losing. You can lose, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. But I think what this statement also states is that you can't learn anything from winning. You're either winning or you're learning. You can learn just as much from winning as the same amount as you can from losing. If I win, what did I do well that I want to continue to do? If I lose, what did I do poorly and how do I fix it so I can do better next time? So I think it's about identifying what you can learn in each situation. And it doesn't have to be like, if I win, let me focus on all the things I did good. Like, you still have to look at what you want to improve at. Same thing if you lose. It's not just about focusing on what you want to get better at. It's like, hey, what did I do well that I want to continue to do anyway so I can be better next time? So it's not about, you either win or you learn. It's you either win or lose, but you can learn from both. Okay. Um, Another phrase that I'm sure a lot of people say is that, hey, just be positive, or hey, man, I'm struggling with something. Oh, just be more positive. Okay. Well, I think the intent behind it is good, but let's say you fail drastically. Let's say you have some traumatic experience and someone tells you, hey, just be more positive. How easy is it to be positive in that moment? Exactly. It's not going to be very easy to be positive in those times of struggle. So making the flip from disappointment to being happy is going to be extremely challenging. So instead of trying to be more positive, it's more about being more optimistic. And I think when you hear the word optimistic, a lot of people think that that means is just to be positive, to see the glass as half full. While part of that is correct, is seeing the glass half full. However, what true optimism is you're also acknowledging the situation for what it is, right? Hey, things are not good right now, but I'm still hopeful and confident that things can get better, right? So yes, there is a positive spin to it, but I think there is also a sense of realism that lets you know, hey, things suck right now, and that's okay because things can get better. You just have to kind of struggle right now. Okay, so it's less about how do I be more positive, but more how do I develop a little bit of optimism? How do I make sure I maintain hope and confidence that things can get better? How do I still identify the things that I can control in this situation so that I can use that information to help me propel forward? Um, the next two phrases kind of tie into each other, but the first one is rest is for the weak, right? Is that if I'm not doing something, that means I'm falling behind the curve, right? Now, sometimes you don't have the option, right? Sometimes your schedule is so packed that you don't really have the opportunity, to rest as much as you could. However, what taking a break actually does is it's a chance for us to reset. A chance for us to reset not just mentally from the cognitive side, but also physically. Right. So I think if we're talking about how do I maximize my development, how do I maximize learning, how do I maximize my skill set, part of that is taking a break. Part of that is resting and recovering. If you're a high performance athlete, it could be stretching, it could be foam rolling, it could be doing an ice bath. Those things are part of the performance process, but they are a form of like rest and recovery. So I think one thing with this is maybe changing the narrative from rest is for the weak or rest is considered a weakness. It's almost treating rest as a performance. Because if we're talking about maximizing my skill set, we have to have our mind and body physically, or mind and body at the top of their game in order for me to maximize my skill set. Okay. And part of the way to do that is to make sure we're resting and recovering. And then we're talking about rest for the physical side, but I think also for the mental side as well as sitting there and maybe focusing on your breathing. Maybe sitting there and journaling. Um, Doing something to process the what your mind is going through to kind of give yourself that little mental break as well to kind of help you propel forward. Um, the last one, again, it's tied with rest, but is the phrase of "I'll sleep when I'm dead." Now, I think Matthew Walker put it. He had the phrase or a sentence in his book Why We Sleep. Uh, he talks about this phrase and says, he hates when people say I'll sleep when I'm dead because, well, if you have continuous lack of sleep and you're depriving yourself of sleep, well, then you're going to be dead a lot quicker. So you're going to have a lot of time to sleep. And I think what a lot of the research shows is that a consistent lack of sleep is you know is going to impact your cognitive functioning very drastically. They even say that after one night of no sleep, people say, "Oh, let's pull an all-nighter." Well, guess what? That one all-nighter is going to cause a 400% increase in a lapse in concentration. I think when you ask adults, when they have their best night to sleep, a lot of them talk about how it was after a night of drinking. Well, there was research done on the effects of alcohol, sleep, and our ability to, perform in a driving simulator. And what they found was that on just 4 hours of sleep, with the impact of alcohol, people were 30 times more likely to drive off the road than those who had zero alcohol, right? So I think what a lack of sleep does is it puts us in danger. Okay. Again, now sometimes you don't have the opportunity to get a full 7 to 9 hours. Things happen, but there are things you can supplement, like taking naps during the day, like having good sleep hygiene tactics to go to bed to maximize however many hours you get. Because what sleep can do is it can recalibrate the emotional parts of your brain. Right. So maybe what that'll help me do is be more composed during challenges, during stressful times when I go into performance. I think what it also does, it helps replenish your immune system, right? It helps fight off illnesses. But there's also a lot of research out there that talks about how sleep impacts memory. How we need sleep to help solidify the memories throughout the day, the information we learn throughout the day, so that we can accurately uh, utilize or remember that information the next day. So when you're not getting the amount of sleep that we need, not only is it impacting you from like a cognitive standpoint in terms of how I perform, but it's also impacting me in terms of my ability to retain information. So, catchphrases sound good. They're called buzzwords for a reason. They're called catchphrases for a reason because they sound really good and they kind of get you going. However, what they can ultimately do is set you up for failure, right? So I think here's your public service announcement to watch out for the catchphrases you latch onto. It's okay to have them and say them, but I think understand the information that you're missing uh, so that you can make good use of those catchphrases. For example, if I'm telling myself failure is not an option, know that failure is an option. I'm just choosing to focus on what I need to do to be successful. And that's what I got for you all today. Happy Sunday. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week and hope you have a good, solid week coming up. We'll talk soon. Don't forget, today's a great day to make an impact. All right, y'all. Have a good one.